Good morning, community. Good morning. Welcome to Talk to Me Thursday. We're going to get ready to jump right in. I saw some good dialogues happening yesterday on our Wellness Wednesday section and pull some of those points as critical places of discussion for us on today. So we are going to jump right into some of the comments that were made. I want to say this too in the public forum so that no one ever feels violated about the comments. They're just right there in our regular open forum discussion. So we're going to toggle right there and start. Um, Almost as a segue from where we were yesterday. So if you were joining us, I know Jen's going to prep to show the response, but before doing so, if you joined us yesterday and you already have a sense of a bit of the tool that we discussed, either you're able to name all three of the areas, or you at least got you a good solid one from that section on yesterday from our wellness tool. Go ahead and put it into the comments so we can see how we landed yesterday. If you were able to track with us, if you picked up just a bit. So I'll clarify the question. Yesterday we did a wellness work. We were leading in to do wellness work, and we had three different areas that we were talking about where we have to reflect, where we have to take ownership, where we have to really process some things. And so whether you remember all three areas or you just have one, you just got one, like you really leaned in on that one area, go ahead and let's start there, dropping that into the comment section, bringing yourself back into that awareness of that discussion, and we'll start level setting. I'll give you all a moment to just really process it. I see some of you are coming in with all three areas listed. Some of you are still saying good morning to the good girlfriends. I see some celebrations of people saying good job. Okay, very good. Several of you are landing right there with the last area, which is adjustment, and that's where most of the work has to occur, kind of, sort of, because always that accountability piece is a good hunk of the work as well. But we'll go ahead and then get started there. The three areas are area, always, adjustment. Area, always, and adjustment. Area, let's go back to area for a minute. Area is identifying the space where, based off of just our content this week with our good big brother Jesus, who demonstrated in the midst of just stuff how to have your peace, we too began to identify areas where we need peace. Where we need peace, okay? And so when I looked back at some of the comments from just yesterday, some of you may also say, that's me. I didn't list that one, but that's me. Are you may be able to pick up some tangible similarity? We had people who said transparently their relationship with food. When I first leaned in to read that one, I thought it was going down the trail of God, right? That's very familiar. So I like that here in the community, we dare to say things and talk about things that are real issues, real talk, particularly for women. So there was one where it was peace in the relationship with food. Another one said peace in their mind. Another one said peace as it relates to their weight, which I thought was interesting. And there was a differentiation between relationship with food and peace with their weight, right? So we're going to go there. Of course, then I highlighted it yesterday verbally, but I kept it on the list. Their narrative about God. I love that that's from our series with Abigail, and that one of our community sisters, I believe it is Regina predominantly, but a couple of people as well, still processing the narrative that they have about God. Peace in that space. I'm going to try to get there. And then several I saw, but relationship with their daughters. And y'all, that's an interesting place because oftentimes people will do the journey and the work of dynamics between women and like their fathers and daddy syndrome and just all of those dynamics, but being bold enough to address when there's some sense of lack of productivity, tension, undercurrents between a mom and a daughter. It is easy to think that just with automaticity is a great relationship, but I want you all to know that there are many women with mothers, many women with daughters who struggle in those relationships. The similarity in their gender does not often make that an automatic fit. So if you are feeling like you are the odd woman out and that something is particularly off with you because perhaps your relationship with your mom or your relationship with your daughter is not always solid, firstly, I want you to know that you are not as odd as you perhaps think, that that is a very common area of disruption or tension in relationships. Sometimes it's because they're too much alike. Sometimes it's because they're different. Sometimes it's because it's a spiritual attack. There are different dynamics that happens, and we'll try to circle back. But I wanted to just surface for you some of those questions that are there, and we'll begin our Talk to Me Thursday and see how far we get in that. Jen will be trying to watch the comments to make sure that as we're doing a different topic section that we're able to try to incorporate some of the feedback from the community. So if you'll go ahead and lean on the love button on this morning, and Daddy God, we welcome you and your love as we begin to just process various topics that are on the hearts of your daughters. We thank you that everything is spoken in love, that it is received in love, that it is understood in love, and that the ultimate objection is that we truly do live out theme 2023, well and whole. We want to be well. Somebody said that with me. I want to be well. I want to be whole. And so we hold space on this morning to drill down into some of these topics and to see how far we get with them. And we may have to run some over into a different week. But particularly, we want to handle and we want to move with sensitivity. And I think what I'm really skirting around, even with my words now, is just a gentle reminder. So I'll be forthcoming with it as we begin to drill down into these different reminders, and I'm highlighting what people are expressing and what they are feeling. I'm going to continue to challenge us to retrain ourselves to really embrace the modeling that we see done by Jesus. And when we left off last, we talked about how Jesus stooped down to the woman, got into her stuff and on her level before trying to advise, correct, quote scriptures. We want to do all of that. We want to be mindful, particularly on Wellness Wednesday and Talk to Me Thursdays, when people are attempting to be vulnerable and to share. Be careful and watch yourself, watch your thoughts, watch yourself as we are maturing and trying to model how Jesus reached people. It's okay and there's no judgment, but watch yourself. If when somebody articulates their concerns or their issue, your first inclination is to try to throw a scripture at them, try to move past their whatever and get them on to a solution, try to advise or correct before you say, Sister, I got you. Sister, I hear you. Sister, I love you. Sis, I'm sorry that's happening. Because therein is space for you to grow as a person who desires to reach people in this great gospel. There's a space. So whether you're the person that the issue is relating to, or you're the person who's attempting to be productive in the dynamic, we hold space for all of us to grow and to do better and to be better based off of what Jesus modeled. That's why that's critical, because there's so many of us. We come from different denominations, we come from different teachings, we're in different stages, we're in different ages, and we all can have an opinion. But what trumps all of that is to model what Jesus did. That's the gathering space, right? That regardless of how I've been taught to do it and you've been taught to do it, Jesus models how to do it. And he's the ultimate model. So I want us to just be mindful of that as we progress. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first question on Talk to Me Tuesday was, or just the first observation. I need peace in my relationship with food. I need peace in my relationship with food. And several people highlighted that. Peace in my relationship with food. So I'm going to start with what I know, and I'm welcoming the community with love and grace to add your comments or your observations as well. Firstly, is there anybody else who can identify that struggle with trying to really figure out, particularly when your body begins to change and perhaps that metabolism seems to have slowed down and things don't move off as quickly as they once did? Anybody else can relate with sometimes having to struggle and figure out how to move in this earth with food, how to really do that thing, peace and the relationship with food. And so I want to underscore, just starting there, relationship. Relationship. The word relationship, when broken down, simply means the portal through which I relate. So if we break that down, and I think it's critical when we're talking about food, there has to be an examination. If you want peace there has to be an examination in how you relate to food. Relationship is just the method or the portal and how we relate, right? So I can be in relationship with Glenzola Jerkins as mom and daughter. That's how we relate. I can be in relationship with a ministry as pastor or teacher or women's leader. That's the relationship in which we relate. I can be in relationship with Jennifer as friend or as co-host or shepherd over the community. That's the relationship. That's the way in which we relate, right? So when it comes to food, it's critical to really understand, how do I relate to food? What's the portal through which I relate to food? That clarity is needed. That clarity is needed so that because so that when you hear the word relationship, if you're not careful to break it down according to its roots, when it comes to food, the word relationship ran together as we often hear it, projects an image or an understanding of connectedness, almost an automaticity in connectedness, right? Like if you hear, ooh, Gina and Ray Ray are in relationship, it automatically projects an imagery of some sense of connectedness and some sense of make sense connectedness and some sense of perhaps dating dynamics or love dynamics, or it projects this strong sense of connectedness. And the reality is, you can alter the dynamics of how you relate with something. It is not automatic that you have to be connected and intertwined as such, particularly with food. I want you to hear me, because in a dynamic between Jen and I'm going, Glenzola and I, perhaps the ministry and there is a reciprocity or a co-commitment to dynamics of being engaged with one another and intertwined, because it's a person, right? This isn't like made up back in the day when you were like in kindergarten or first grade, honey, and you may have had a boyfriend, but he didn't know it. Y'all understand? You may have been dating somebody, little boy in like kindergarten, first grade. You tell your little girlfriends, that's my boyfriend, but he didn't know he was. He didn't know he was a boyfriend. Now, shame on us if we at this stage of life and we got these boyfriends and stuff, and they don't know. But in first grade and kindergarten, you could kind of like somebody, crush on somebody, and pretty much in your head, because you knew their name and you sat by them at recess, y'all were in a relationship, right? But he didn't know. The ironic thing then is when you use that terminology when it comes to food, hear me with love, it is that same ridiculous understanding. It is that same facetious understanding because you can have a relationship, a portal through which you relate with food. But hear me, food don't know y'all are in a relationship. Food cannot give you back anything with reciprocity. Food has no commitment nor choice in this dynamic. If y'all are tracking, y'all lean on that thumb or something because it's gonna become clear to you. Lean on that thumb as we process it. So if we reposture our language around it, we can reposture our actions around it. You're choosing food. Food is not choosing you. You're choosing food. Food is not choosing you. You're choosing food. Food is not choosing you. So the verbiage of projecting it like we are in a relationship with food in the common imagery of how we use the word relationship, like there's an engagement, there's an intertwinement, there's a choice, there's a semi-commitment. All of those things first verbally put you in something deeper, mentally put you in something deeper. And the reality is, with the shifting of your verbiage and a shifting of your mindset about it, you have more power than you articulate and more power than you envision because there really is no relationship in the commonality of understanding. There is a one-way dynamic going on with food, and you are in control of that one-way dynamic. You're in control of it. You're right. Food is not choosing you. Food is not choosing you. You are choosing food. And there has to be a differentiation, y'all. If you're really wanting to walk in ownership and authority, hear me clear, because this is very real for lots of women who are in their processing of how they interact with food. When they're unhappy about their body image, when they're unhappy about their weight, when they're unhappy about their health. But the language of relationship, as it is commonly defined and utilized, it gives more power and control to food than it actually has. If I am in a dynamic with Zola, we both have actions, right? But because I'm not trying to break up with Zola, let me move back. A dynamic with perhaps Ray Ray. And I'm trying to change that dynamic. Hear me, just so that you understand. There was a day when I was calling Ray Ray, right? But the reality is, even when I'm trying to break up, Ray Ray can keep calling me back. Ray Ray can show up by my place. Ray Ray can keep texting me. Ray Ray can put a post on social media. Ray Ray can send me flowers. There are actions that Ray Ray can do that continues to try to foster an engagement and an intertwining and an activity between us. Food does not have that power. Food does not have that dynamic. And so, sis, with love, if the relationship, as you say, is there and it lacks peace, if it's going on longer than you desire, if it's going on broader than you desire, if it's going on deeper than you desire, there's only one person in that dynamic with food who has the opportunity to have control, who has the opportunity to exercise discipline, who has the opportunity to make certain choices and not engage because food is an innate object that cannot call you and text you and follow you and send you messages. And so I'm really just saying all the way back to it for all of us in everything that we process. We have so much more authority, ownership, responsibility The opportunity, as we say, mature woman arise, kingdom woman arise. We have that. And it is, as someone just said, it may be hard to hear, but it's the truth. It may be hard to hear, but it is the truth. And so, if that is a sincerely real area for you, then the tool remains, what have you always done, consistently done, frequently done as it relates to that area, even if that area is food? Do you go and buy all of these things in a depressed moment and put them in your house? And so, late in the midnight hour, chips are going to call your name. But bigger than that, the chips that you bought and moved into your house, y'all hear this stuff like a for real relationship. Late in the midnight hour, when you're laying in your bed, are you going to go and get those cookies that don't add any value to your goal and have those cookies laying in your bed, doing nothing more than adding drama to a situation that is already a concern for you? That's mature woman, grown woman arise. That's owning that I do certain things that I've always done. And even though the area is quote unquote food and it may not seem as big or as important to somebody, for someone else, that's a real issue. But even in that area, you have the same ownership, authority, responsibility, empowerment options that anybody else has who's dealing with a different type of addiction or a different type of area issue. We all have the power to step back and say, what do I always do? For some people, you stop eating when you're stressed. For other people, that's your first answer. You eat when you're stressed. For some people, food is your company. And just like with some human beings, you have to break up with bad company. Honey, you got the same you got the same responsibility, ownership, and accountability. Maybe if company is your food, that's the thing that you do when you get home in the evening, nobody's there, so you get out your food and you watch a movie, and that's your comfort. Honey, you got to break up with it just like somebody got to break up with a bad boyfriend. There's no shortcuts, there's no quick answers for any of us dealing with a particular area. The tool remains the same. Area, always adjustment. And what happens is, in the adjustment phase, that's where you get to really determine, how bad do I want to have peace in this area? How bad do I really want it? I see someone says chips. You're speaking on my Oreos, right? Y'all, it's pulling down stinking thinking. It is the same thing over and over again that comes to plague our lives. It's our thinking, it's our speaking, it's our narratives. You may have to examine, what's the narrative that you tell yourself about food. Maybe your narrative is food is your reward. When you have a good day and you feel like you landed it, man, that's when you get to go and get an extra thing, a bottle of wine or glass of wine. Or maybe the narrative is food is your reward. And so when you do something super great, you go out and get your whole brownie ice cream or whatever it is. And I'm not making food wrong. For somebody else, that's not an issue. I'm just saying, if it's you and that's your area, then you may have to switch up that narrative about food. You may have to switch up your narrative about food, and maybe even deal down deeper and say, switch up my narrative about me. Because right about now, I'm too grown and work too hard for a good meal to be my reward. How about now I'm in the stage where, for me, a good reward for doing something pretty spectacular is to save up, because G trying to get on over there to where I'm trying to Bora Bora. How about we change narratives, and things that once were good enough for us as a reward, like a meal? Not only does my narrative about food change, because that ought to become just normal. If I want a good meal, I just get a good meal. My narrative about me has changed. And when I'm rewarding myself, I elevate myself, and food is no longer a treat. I'm saving up for a vacation. I'm saving up for, I don't know, some more stock. I'm saving up because I'm going to buy my business. I shift my narrative about my way, my worth, and thus I shift my narrative about what I give myself as a blessing. And if food was once the narrative for that, then honey, that's off the list. Like there are just so many ways to own it and adjust so that you can see yourself being different. I see somebody saying, "Ooh, that's good. Get a different reward." Yeah. "Ooh, that's good because I'm shifting how I value me." And there was a day when giving myself a good meal could be seen as a reward. Well, baby, I've been working too hard. I ought to be able to go buy a good meal whenever I want a good meal. I work. I'm just saying for me, I work. So no, that ain't gonna cut it no more. And so then that automatically takes food off of the list as some big deal. And now my big deal is take me to Hawaii, G. So every time you was about to waste that money and go buy that little old something, put that on your trip to Hawaii. Like they're just different ways to adjust. And so I'm going to go ahead and transition. If you need to do more work, and then you may have to set aside some time on your own to see me off on the side. But that's what that looks like. Peace in your relationship with food. First, really understanding that you are not in a dynamic in the common portrayal of relationship where it is engagement, where it is commitment, where it is being intertwined and it is chosen by both parties, or it is by blood, or it is by some of their active active engagement. I don't want to be like something about it, but I do want you to know that is not what you have, because food is an innate object. It does not get up, it does not put forth effort, it does not call, it does not text. And so if something is off about your dynamic with food, sis, it's, I mean, completely. This ain't even though it's two sides. It is 100% completely. It is your responsibility. You are the only one that can choose it. Food don't choose you, you choose food. And so if there's something off about it, that sits squarely 100% on your lap to do something about. And if you need to drill down more about it, we can do that offline. But everybody surround that space with love, because I know weight, I know getting to our ideal weights, I know sizes, health, feeling overweight or underweight. All of those are very sensitive and very real issues for women. But I still owe it to you, sis, as I do with every other topic, to still tell you, though, it's all on you. With love, it's all on you. And that is empowering, because the reality is you really can do something about what you're choosing, particularly when that is not choosing you back, right? Let's go. Help in my mind. In my mind, I think my time is like right there. So I'll do I'll do that one in combination with the narratives about God. We'll do that one. So I'm going to chunk that one and jump right down to relationships with the daughters, and that's relationships in general. Relationship with your daughter, opposite to food, there is space there for a person to either choose or reject you. So whether it's your daughter, whether it's your mom, that nature, I want to just stick to female dynamics between females. So they're in, right? You can just land there again with where I left off. If you are the woman who your dynamic with your mom or your dynamic with your daughter is not well, we pull down that stinking thinking that you are the only one. We pull down that stinking thinking that you're a rarity, that that's abnormal in that sense. It's way more common than what people recognize. It's way more common than what we often talk about. Mother daughter dynamics, whether you're the daughter or the mom, and having a tension undercurrent. I want to just level set that so that you will know that you are not the odd man out. That though is not to give you justification for continuing in upheaval and dishevelment in an area where you really do desire peace. And so, what I will lead with in attempting to help bring peace to that area, two very critical things. One of them is this dynamic that I talk about even here in the community. One of them is this dynamic where women often have the tendency to lecture and to to lecture and to fix. But if I'm leaning into the community, honey, if we were in person and there would just be no misconstruing something, because when I would pick up in your spirit that I got a brick thrown at me, I would take it and crush it with love. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there, just for what it is, and you're just gonna have to receive it in love. one of the dynamics that makes it very difficult in female relationships, particularly when it's like mother, daughter, daughter, mother, whichever way that's landing, and in a space where people need help, is that oftentimes in the body of faith, particularly among churched women, we respond from our better selves, our churched selves, versus our such were some of you selves. That's how I can say it politely. Many of us quickly give responses and we give advisement and we give input and we give opinions from our now, in retrospect, been saved 25 years selves, our got my white collar around my neck self. Like we answer frequently from that space, and we suffer with the undiagnosed condition of amnesiac, and we never really stoop down like Jesus and give input, insight, or Me Too stuff from the such were some of you space. And it makes it really difficult to have crucial conversations, conversations of transparency, spaces where you get my real prayer requests, not my generic pray for me, cuz it makes it difficult. And that stuff shows up even in our daughter mom relationships. We move with them from a space of, let me be clear. So let's say we're the mothers in this dynamic. And so we move with them often from the heart space of, I want to spare them from some of the stuff that I went through. I want to save them from some of the stuff that I've seen. I want to keep them from some of my scars. That's the heart space. But the verbal space is, or comes across like, I'm perfected. I got this down. I've been there, done that. I know best. I know better. The verbal space, the communication of the heart space, there's a mismatch. And so often, even though the heart in what you're trying to do is good, the communication of it is still, sis, the communication of it still be laden in so much fault and so much pride that the dynamics of your relationship, according to the word, it was going to fall. It was going to fail. And why do I say that it's laden in pride? Because you never approach the topic that is causing the tension from the space of me too, from the space of, I know that because I did that too. That's the pride part that likes to project life like I got it all together, while skipping, I had to get it together. And many of our daughters resent that. They can't hear us, they don't relate. That's one piece. The second piece of it is they've seen too much. Y'all would just hear me in love, because I love y'all. I don't have anything to gain. They've seen too much, particularly if you have multiple children. Your older children got a different version of you than perhaps your younger children now receive. And you like to move and navigate with your older children like you are the mom that your younger children now get. But your older children got a different version of you. And even though you like to pretend that she did not exist, they know she did. Y'all know I can tell y'all this kind of stuff with emphaticness. Many of you know my educational background is education. Career background is education. Between being a classroom teacher, being an assistant principal and being a principal of a school where I had 1,500 teenagers every day. The stuff they would tell us on these campuses about y'all, the stuff I knew about parents. Then for a stint, honestly, I served even in children's church in a ministry for about 3, 4 years. The stuff them folk would say, them children would tell me while y'all was in there singing in the choir and on the praise and worship teams and teaching and leading in ministry, the stuff your children would say. I'm telling y'all this stuff with love. The stuff that I now see as a person who's practicing and entering into the whole therapeutic and counseling world, the stuff that kids come who are now adults and say about what they experience. And I'm not saying that with the measure of like it's all 100% true or like I don't have enough sense to know there's another something. But what I am trying to acknowledge to you is that kids see and know way more than we often think. Think about you as a kid. You knew way more than what your parents probably would have thought you knew. You saw and picked up on way more than what they probably would have said you knew. Well, guess what? Your kids do it too. Your grandkids do it too. The number of young ladies that I mentor who have pulled me aside and just said, this is why I feel this way. So all the way back to these dynamics, I'm gonna be honest, I don't have quick fixes for you, and it'll probably be conversations that we're gonna have to deep dive into more. But there are two main reasons that I consistently hear, whether I was a principal in children's church or just serving in these types of capacities as mentor or as therapeutic listening ears. These are the roughest spots in relationships with women, with mothers and daughters, daughters and mothers. Number one would be your in church world, your projection of everything that you say is from the redeemed you. Nothing that you say or lead with is from the such were some of you space. And the funny thing is, while we may project that we've always been holy, they know it's not the truth. They know. The second thing is what is done from a great heart space often is not communicated with that verbiage. And so there is a mixed match between what you're attempting to accomplish and how you say it. So if you're not wanting her to make certain mistakes, and so you're very hard about your rules and your expectations. And so what comes across is like, let's just say you want her in late because you recognize that the streets are unsafe at night for a young lady. That's your heart. I want her home. I want her here safe because the streets are hard and I've been on the streets. But what you say is, I'm locking that door at 1 o'clock. And if you come in this house anytime after 1, you might as well just go somewhere else and find somewhere else to stay because you're not coming in these doors. So you know what she does? When she go find that boyfriend that's 50 years older than her and move in, and your response is, I don't know why she making them kind of choices and why she went and moved in with somebody, and you forget the ultimatum kind of threat that you gave. I'm trying to help us in love. I'm trying to help us in love. Because Jesus modeled stooping down. So we don't want her out on the street because it's not safe. And we want her in at a decent hour so that we know where she is. And we don't forget that such were some of us, because there was a day when our parents wanted us to be a particular place at a particular time for our safety, and we rebelled against it. Stooping down language looks like, this isn't about my house rules. This isn't about me trying to control your life. Listen, I just know what it's like to be out on these streets. Mama never told you, but yeah, one day I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. And I got assaulted. One day I was somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. And I got raped. One day I was somewhere that somebody told me not to be. And I remember fighting to get him off of me. One day I was somewhere doing some stuff I wasn't supposed to be. And I woke up the next morning in somebody's bed. It's the space, y'all. And here's the thing. It's being able to lay down pride. I know you don't fool with me. I know you don't fool with me. Because I really do remember. I know I quote scriptures and I put declarations and affirmations now, but 20, 25 years ago, man, I was a mess. I said some ugly stuff to you. I made fun of you. Y'all, there are moms who make fun of their own kids. I talked about you bad to your brothers and your sisters. I called you the dark one. I teased you because you talk white. I know. I try to mask it now and I say a whole lot of scripture quoting and declarations and affirmations. And I walk around here like, but I know I messed up. I know the mom that I'm trying to be today is not the mom that you experienced. And I'm not going to, moving forward, try to put the pressure on you to pretend that I was the type of mother that I envisioned myself being. I know I wasn't her. And I'm sorry. And you pause right there. Because the moment you say, but, you kill your apology. One day we're going to have a whole session about the art of apologizing. Because the moment you say, but, you kill your apology. The mama I am today, the mama that I want to be, is not the mama that I was for most of your growing up years. And for that, I'm sorry. Stop. It's time to go. Y'all went way over time and y'all still here. So this would be a topic we really need to talk about. Yeah. Tomorrow, fortunately, it's a time of prayer. We'll pray more and then we'll circle back and we'll deep dive into this because we want to be well and we want to be whole. Everybody in full agreement, will you lean on that love button? Surround all of this with love. Surround all of this with love. Father, we thank you that you are healing us in the crevices. Man, between maturing us and growing us up and teaching us how to walk different and be different, reminding us that we're kingdom citizens and we're in this world, but we're not of it. And there's a but to our actions. We can do the opposite of what the world says. And we can create something different that's better and that's whole for our next generation. So we receive in love with grace today these nuggets that we've kind of unearthed and talked to me Thursday. Continue to give us your peace that surpasses all understanding. Let discernment rule. Let us have insight and wisdom to navigate differently in the areas particularly where we desire peace. And we really will give you the praise, the honor, and the glory for the healing work that you're doing in us. In Jesus' name, we do pray and we do believe. Amen. Sincerely, y'all, I love y'all. And I honor the greatness that's on the inside of you. Y'all take care. We'll see you right back here in the morning for prayer.